Today on American Controversial, the consumer confidence continues to fall. Is the holiday season going to go down the drain, or the American people are just nervous?
The troops are coming home. Iraq is finally over. Is this a win for America or a win for the Iraqis?
Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi was killed. Did he deserve a trial? And what is next for Libya?
Republican Texas Governor Rick Perry's economic plan has been created. Is he any closer to becoming the GOP presidential candidate?
All this and more coming up on the next American Controversial. Welcome to American Controversial. I'm Brad Guthrie. Alongside with me, Adriana Valencia and Izzy Cohen. The Consumer Confidence Index is the lowest since March of 2009. It is currently at 39.8%. The holiday shopping season is getting closer, and many factors have caused the economy to stay sluggish. What will the holiday economic forecast be like this year? Guys?
Well, I think it should improve. It's sort of seasonal that all these things happen, and the way that sort of the consumers have been preparing for the holidays, they're saving up for spending once the holiday comes. I mean, it's only almost the end of October. Mm-hmm. Once you have Black Friday and things like that, we will see an increase in purchases. Because
the numbers are going down regarding to the costs.
Well,
regarding to the price, the products that are being.
It's just a matter of seasonal behavior. Mm-hmm. Consumers will begin spending.
I do agree that the consumerism will improve throughout the holiday season, but not to the point where it should be, because people in today's economy, we're going through unemployment, we're going through increased levels of identity theft. People probably won't go out as much as they used to for Black Friday because of the fear that their credit card information might get stolen, because it is very, very likely, because with all the purchases and things like that, it's easier for people who are hackers to steal information from the credit card machines.
So with the salary income of middle-class Americans not so great, you believe they're going to be saving up possibly to spend more, but it's most likely they are more to spend more than those who are up at upper echelon. Well, how do you feel about that?
Consumer confidence has more or less two subcategories. They are the outlook of labor or income, or the outlook of business. What really brought down the consumer confidence is the outlook of business. But actually labor and income, the outlook for that actually went up. So they're actually expecting for things to improve in the future. It might just be a sign that things are not doing so well as far as business and retail, and they'll just pick back up once the holiday season hits.
Mm-hmm. I think
until Americans get back to work, right?
Yeah, that is actually the point I was going to bring up. We are having a lot of wishful thinking for the economy, but until we improve the unemployment rates, our wishful thinking is not going to come true, because who's going to go out and build more credit card debt on top of the fact that they don't have a job?
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Well, I agree that unemployment is eroding. It could be the leading factor behind the erosion of consumer confidence. And the fact that it hasn't moved anywhere, and there doesn't seem to be any plan from Congress or from the administration to remedy that this sort of prolonged unemployment is the leading cause behind the downturn in consumer confidence. But I do think that it's only a matter of time before the American consumer begins what they know how to do, and that is spend.
Well, what happens if you don't have, especially if you're spending on unemployment checks that at the end of the year it was going to expire because of the budget?
You know, it has happened before where they thought, consumer confidence after the recession, pretty much this level is back to sort of post-recession levels.
And so before 2007 levels?
No, to 2009 levels.
Okay.
Which was sort of more or less when the recession was in its ending a sort of run. So I think that just like it happened then, that consumers are simply gonna start back up and they're gonna spend, and it's not gonna be what people say.
All right, well, we'll be right back after this short break.
dedicate themselves to a sense of honor, to a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves. They have always defended this nation and each other. They still do. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Thank you for giving me blood.
Thank you for giving me shelter.
Thank you for saving my life.
Support the Red Cross and change a life, starting with your own.
Welcome back to American Controversial. Mission accomplished. By the end of the year, all U.S. soldiers will be leaving Iraq for good. President Obama said, after nearly 9 years, America's war in Iraq will be over. But is it? Is this one area in the Middle East that the U.S. will leave alone? Now let's hear what John Fitzgerald, Javier Luque, and Brad Guthrie have to say.
Thank you, Izzy. I think that today when it happens, is a victory. We are leaving a sovereign nation. We have accomplished our goal. It took 9 years. It took longer than most people expected. But America did what it wanted to. We have a free nation, a new one in the world, and that's a rare event and a moment of celebration.
Well, it's a black eye, I believe, to the American history and the reputation across the world. We are looked in a different perspective. Right now we're going into not just a recession, but also because of the expense of the war, $1.2 trillion it costs. So I believe the exit strategy was important and effective right now, that we leave while we can save more lives, and also Iraqis.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Brad. This is not just a black eye for the U.S., but I think, we're forever going to be tarnished by this, We've been labeled as warmongers. I'm just happy that, the troops are coming back home and we can focus on a much more important war, which is in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. But overall, I think the Iraq mission should have been done earlier, or there should have been some form of alternative. Because originally, we did not belong there in the first place.
But
we were doing a good job in Afghanistan, but we went there and
But if we left Iraq earlier, before we had finished, and some would argue that the job isn't finished. Some Republicans have said that they feel that we should keep the troop presence there.
Exactly.
The government wouldn't have been stable, and it would have quickly fallen apart, and we could end up with a state like Somalia with no government. We're leaving, I think, at a good time, a time where Iraq's not all the way there yet, but they're strong enough and stable enough on their own that they don't need the U.S. crutch anymore.
But what was the point? We were out there for like almost 9 years being the referee of some sectarian violence that has been going on after the toppling of Saddam Hussein's regime.
That was the objective, though, to topple Saddam Hussein's regime, because at the time we believed that he had weapons of mass
I think the
destruction.
Iraqi people should have grown a spine and threw him out in the first place. We cannot be this global police force anymore. As once again I said, we are being labeled as warmongers and killers of innocent people, and we're fighting for oil and blah blah blah.
No, let's talk about our president. He wants to bring strength to the Iraqi government. Do you believe that in this process going forward, will Prime Minister Maliki, will he be effective as one that will insert a change in that specific region?
I think it's going to be a roll of the dice here, because it's not a guarantee that Iraq could be this fully stable democracy. It's in a place where geopolitically has always been unstable. There's a lot of sectarian violence.
But nothing's a guarantee, especially in the Middle East. But I think we've done a good job, and I think the government there is fairly strong. It's certainly stronger and more friendly to the U.S. than Saddam Hussein was. I think that overall this has been something positive, because we've made a new democracy, and we cannot underplay that. We also can't underplay the reason that we're leaving, that we were kicked out, that
they asked us to leave.
Yes, that they would not give U.S. soldiers the guarantee that they would not be tried in Iraqi courts.
Exactly.
And without that, obviously, we can't risk having soldiers put in Iraqi jails. But I think that shows strength on the Iraqi government's part that they're willing to ask us to leave.
Does it justify the position of them doing such, or should we prosecute our own soldiers for acting? Remember,
the Abu Ghraib scandal.
The Abu Ghraib. Exactly what I was going to say.
That's the reason why we have such a bad, reputation. It's one of the factors right there.
And Gitmo.
We can't be the
We can't forget about Guantanamo Bay.
But I think in the last 4 years we've brought back some of our reputation to us. That we've gotten away from the initial part of the war, and now we're on the part where it was ultimately a success. We tripped a few times. We maybe got in for the wrong reasons, but we have something to show the world that's positive. And we've shown that America, with Libya, and other nations, that America is still a force of good in this world.
Exactly.
Well, I may agree with you slightly, but don't forget, overall our foreign policy still, wounds heal, but scars don't.
But it's not a scar. It's
all these other, progressive countries in Europe, the governments have been bashing us. South American countries have been bashing us because of this war, and these people do know how to sell their purpose.
What countries?
Venezuela, for example, we always hear a lot of banter from the Venezuelan government attacking the U.S. because of these certain
would attack
things,
us no
calling
matter
us
what.
warmongers, calling us, the world police, and and such. It goes on. Just watch, Latin American news networks.
But let's focus on our soldiers coming back here. What do you think they should have a lasting impression? Some say that this was a pointless war. We lost it back in probably 2006 when it was getting worse. So how do you feel regarding to the perspective, the point of the soldiers' point of view?
The soldiers coming home, no one can say that's a bad thing. It's great for them. It's great to get them out of harm's way.
Overwhelmingly, the American people wanted the American
especially with the economic perspective you spoke about earlier, getting out of the war is going to save us money, but it gets people's loved ones out of the way. And I'm happy the soldiers are coming home for that perspective, that they're going to be safe. We won't hear about deaths in Iraq anymore. And that's a great moment in America.
Exactly. Javier, how do you feel about the soldiers returning back to America?
They deserve a good rest. They deserve to be united with their loved ones. After 9 years of an oppressing war, I think, they should get a good leave of absence and just go fishing.
And with that, President Obama did accomplish what he said what to do was to get the troops out of Iraq. But after that, we'll be right back from this commercial break.
These days, people of all ages, including adults, can have a perfect smile. Thanks to today's technology, people with crooked teeth may no longer need to wear metal braces. One option many adults prefer is invisible braces. Instead of the typical metal bands or brackets that are cemented to teeth, these braces are clear plastic trays. Some advantages of invisible braces are they can be removed for eating and for brushing and flossing. They are practically invisible to see, and they are less irritating to gums than traditional braces. Keep in mind that invisible braces are only available for people who need minor corrective work. If you are considering braces and would like to learn more about invisible braces, speak with your dentist. You're never too old for a beautiful smile. For the ADA Dental Minute, I'm Dr. Maria Lopez-Howell.
Some dogs fetch and roll over and shake hands. Some dogs take you to Spain and shopping for refrigerators and help you get through grad school. Some dogs help you start your own business, go on hikes in the Grand Canyon, and skip rocks on the pond. Some dogs you trust with your life every day. Being partners with a guide dog is about more than walking down the sidewalk. It's about having the freedom to do what you want in life. Nothing more, nothing less. And with your help on Guide Dogs for the Blind, nothing need ever change that. Call 1-888-884-DOGS or visit guidedogs.com.
Welcome back to American Controversial. Gaddafi is dead and buried. There are speculations that the death was suspicious and on purpose. The UN has called for an investigation. Is the government going to do better for the Libyan people? Now let's go to Brad Guthrie, John Fitzgerald, and Javier Luque for more.
Thank you, Adriana. Well, he's dead, and I think that is a good thing. I think we've saved a lot of time, a lot of money. The trial would have been expensive. We saw the circus that Saddam Hussein's trial was. It's clean cut, and Libya can move on.
Javier, what do you?
Yes, indeed, the killing of Gaddafi may have been just, but the decision between whether people wanted him to be put on trial was quite split. The people who were against Gaddafi actually, most of them wanted him dead, but some of them wanted him to go, to court and be tried. The right to a trial is a universal human right, but unfortunately, as you said, because of, costs and everything, it was much quicker to order a hit on Gaddafi.
Well, we don't know it's a hit. Don't assume that it was. The circumstances are still vague, whether or not what exactly happened to him. The only video we have is him leaving where he was found. So we don't know it was a hit. It could have been crossfire.
Well, with the rebels, they themselves, they had an agenda. They wanted to bring down his dictatorship in the government. But moving forward, it's a relief for them, you would say.
Yes.
It's a tremendous relief.
And the transitional council, they able to implement Sharia law and also to moving forward regarding to what they believe. And for years they've been robbed.
42 years.
For 42 years,
I think,
he's been in power,
unimaginable.
and they have been robbed of their identity. And I think it's just. You believe it's just for them to command for this dictator, one of the last dictators in the world, to come down.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was just. They've been humiliated for decades and decades. They were, mistreated, oppressed, you name it. It's time for Libya to start new. But from my viewpoint here, it's still a roll of the dice for now.
Javier, do you think the video shows Gaddafi being tortured? I mean, your position is obviously that he shouldn't have been killed in the manner he was. Do you think the rebels went too far when they found him?
Some news sources say that they may have gone too far with Gaddafi. Multiple sources have said, Gaddafi was beaten, hazed, and then,
But what do you
head.
think? Not sources. What do you think?
I think they've gone. Well, it may slightly fit because it is not. I'm not sure what kind of atrocious things Gaddafi may have done to his people.
Well, we know
but
what
he did
we know
order
what he's
the
done.
death to his own loyalists, his own tribe. They wanted those who were yet after them. He wanted them killed too, the rebels.
He referred to the rebels as rats, slime, drugged up youth. This was a man who ultimately there was no way out for him. He was going to die one way or another. I'd like to move on though to, do you think the killings are going to extend to people who supported him in addition to him? We found recently in, the ICC found recently in a hotel dozens of what appear to be his supporters line up and shot. Do you think this reflects poorly on the new government?
Well, we have to discuss regarding to our influence on the transition for them to have a stable government and what will be in place regarding to our say westernized views, but also to bring equality, to bring understanding of the past and of now the present. Regarding to the loyalists with those who were with Gaddafi, how do you feel specifically regarding to them?
The rebels?
Yes. No, the rebels. Those who supported Gaddafi, them being lined up and shot.
Them being lined up and shot. I think that was simply quite atrocious, but by fact it did fit the crime because, as I said, the Gaddafi regime, what the regime has done throughout these multiple decades was just oppression, humiliation of the people. So by fact they did deserve to be, beaten and then shot to the head, and just as Gaddafi has done to his own people,
And clearly you can say they're outnumbered because...
No, they're definitely outnumbered.
Exactly.
I mean, we don't know how many people really supported him because people aren't going to come out now and say, oh, I was for Gaddafi right after he was shot in the head.
It's unpopular right now, you
yes.
say.
I mean, you're risking being shot yourself.
Exactly.
So we'll never know how many people really supported him. That was very muddled. But his family is actually bringing a case against NATO and the new Libyan government, claiming that they are committing war crimes with his execution, his son's death, and several close ministers being attacked by either airstrike or possible personal execution.
But there's no repercussions of the new transitional transitional council. Do you feel as if it's okay for them to wipe the slate clear of the history and they enter into a new phase of Libyan history and not being accountable for anything that they have suspected?
No, I don't think it's. I don't think it's clear that we should do that, but we've run out of time. Up next, Rick Perry's new tax plan, how will it affect your taxes, and how will it impact the volatile Republican primary? We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Every pet comes with a unique set of hopes and dreams. And one wish shared by every new pet owner: a happy, healthy life together. Make that wish a reality with early and regular visits to your veterinarian. Vaccinations help protect your puppy or kitten from dangerous diseases. And regular exams help diagnose, treat, and prevent health problems before they become serious. Your veterinarian can also answer questions and offer helpful advice on training your new pet. See that your new pet grows up healthy and happy. Call your veterinarian today. This message is brought to you by the American Veterinary Medical Association and your local veterinarians.
Is your money keeping you up at night? You can sleep a lot easier when it's in bank accounts insured by the FDIC. In more than 75 years, no one has ever lost a penny of insured deposits. That's a lot safer than under your mattress. Visit Edie the Estimator at myfdicinsurance.gov. Then you can sleep well.
Welcome back to American Controversial. GOP hopeful Rick Perry has received a lot of attention after announcing his potential economic agenda if elected president. A controversial plan including tax reform and spending cuts, to name a few. Can these reforms rebuild our economy or worsen it? Now let's hear what Brad Guthrie, Adriana Valencia, and John Fitzgerald have to say.
Thank you, Javier. Now, what is your opinion on Rick Perry?
Regarding to his flat tax, I don't believe personally that Warren Buffett should be paying the same taxes as a mother of three working three jobs, and they're paying equal amount of taxes at the end of the year. It's kind of disappointing. It's unfair. It's unequal distribution regarding to what we are seeing right now in Occupy Wall Street and Occupy around the country. So I believe it does not help middle class. It hurts the middle class. It just helps his friends, the wealthy, the top 1% that will benefit from his tax reform.
Well, he is giving people a choice. I think that a lot of media is cutting over the fact that if you like the old tax code,
yes, exactly,
you can keep it.
We have to be fair.
And
yes.
if the new one benefits you, if you want a simpler tax code, because for some people, 20% flat, just take that out of my paycheck, I'm done. Some people will be happy with that. Or you can say with our current tax code that I have this exception, I have this form, if I have 5 children, I don't have to pay as much as if I have 7. It's confusing, and it takes a lot of time out of people's day.
But see, he didn't have a tax plan before, but now because of he sees that the approval rating for Herman Cain went up, so now he's figuring that he should have a tax plan as well. But we see that with Herman Cain, the tax plan wasn't great, and this one is not all that great either because it is unfair to the lower economic classes. Because, like you said, a mother that has children and is working 3 jobs, it isn't fair. She's going to need the money. 20% is a huge part of a paycheck.
Not to mention, he wants to raise the Social Security retirement age. I mean, it's not going to work well with seniors, independents, and also middle-of-the-road Democrats who are yet on the fence with Obama regarding to his approval.
Obviously, seniors shouldn't. People approaching the Social Security age should care about that, but seniors themselves shouldn't. It's not going to affect them. They're still going to get their check every week. But I think we need to look at changing the plan so it's viable over the long term. The retirement age hasn't shifted since it was made in the early 30s. And people are living a lot longer since.
He wants to privatize Social Security. Be mindful of that.
He does, but that might be something that he says he's going to do, and then it doesn't actually happen.
But it won't pass.
It won't pass. But I don't think it's a bad idea adding a year or 2 to the minimum retirement age in order to make the program viable in the long term.
But look at the politics. He's trying to get the Republican nominee, and he's moving the trajectory all the way to the right, so that he can appeal to those Southern voters,
the Tea Party,
and to the Tea Party.
no matter how much he moves it to the right, he's still going up against a Democrat. And if the Republicans are still falling short of what we're expecting, he's not going to get the presidency. All he wants is the nominee for now. Once he gets the actual position, then he can probably change everything he wants. And then how can we trust someone who is basically changing it based on approval ratings? You know, it's not.
He also, he wants to, now it's reports that he may skip the next debates regarding to his position on not being a successful debater.
I think that for him personally, that might be, given how poorly debates favor him as a candidate, that might be a smart idea.
His opportunity also to explain to the American people about his tax plan, it would help him, but he feels
it might hurt him though, because we look at Herman Cain, who went up in the polls initially, but then once hard questions were asked after the debates, that's when he started to suffer again in the polls. So Perry might be betting on that. He lays out a very simple plan, 20-20-0. People understand it, and then doesn't answer any questions about it. It might be underhanded, but it might win him the nomination. Less is more in most voters' minds.
But he wants to cut spending. He wants to limit the spending by 18% out of the GDP. So how can he feel apprehensive of yet trying to explain what he wants as his agenda to be the nominee for the presidency?
Oh.
How do you feel regarding to his appealing to that crowd, which is, you know, to cut spending, limit the size of government?
I don't think it's all that great, because he's cutting spending. Aren't we trying to boost up our economy and all that? But cutting spending is not exactly a wise route to go, even though we're trying to lower all the debt rate that's in the
Well, no,
right
but
now.
we have to get our debt rate under control. Both sides agree with that.
That's what's his plan.
His plan might be a little bit further to the right than what some people might want, but I think it's a good mean well to say we're only going to spend so much each year, barring emergencies. And it's good to have a limited government and have hard caps, because we can't trust the politicians to say, oh, we're only going to spend 18%, but then once their pet projects start getting cut, they're going to start taking routes to make sure those aren't cut. And next thing we know, we have a balloon government like we have now.
Well, you know, his plan is being approved by silently by he's also running regarding to his opponent Mitt Romney and Newt Gingrich. They approve of what in a sense of the economics regarding to Perry's plan. How do you feel regarding to Mitt Romney and his perspective of how about he releasing his own tax agenda?
Well, Romney has released a plan, but it's 59 points long, so that's not very newsbite friendly. Although but it's well thought out, and I think that's key to look at his plan. Is yes, it's not simple, but if something's not simple, then you put a lot of thought into it.
Exactly.
I think he's smart though, staying quiet on the particulars of this plan.
Interesting.
Because Romney's in front right now. He's ahead in 4 polls in the front states, and I think the less he says, the better chance he has of capturing the candidacy.
Well, it's been a great night. This is American Controversial. See you next week.